So, why don't you just introduce yourself and just,
Sure.
yeah, go
All
for
right.
it.
My name is Greg Mirles. I'm a 3D environment artist. I went to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh for college, and I've been working in the games industry for about 4 years since then. And I've been having a lot of fun. It's really interesting.
And like, you recently had just like got back from the Ukraine.
From Slovakia,
So,
actually.
how did you end up in Slovakia?
So I was working on a Kickstarter project, which was like a sci-fi RPG, and I was asked after like 3 years of working remotely. They sent me a message, and they were like, "Hey, would you like to come to Slovakia and finish up the last 3 months, of the project, or come here for 3 months and work here for a while?" And I'd never been out of the country before, so I was like, "Yeah, of course, absolutely."
And how did that experience like end up? Like, was it a good experience? Like, what were some of the good things and bad things of that? Like
I
working
think
remotely.
the worst thing about it was that I was supposed to go back, and unfortunately, I couldn't. Um, but it was amazing. I met so many really cool people. The programming team that I worked with, my art director, all the people who I worked with were just great people, and I learned a lot. And it was also just like culturally, it was just a crazy experience to be outside of the United States for the first time.
Yeah, was there like any language barriers, or are there like problems transferring your skills?
I didn't like. I ran into like a couple of people who were just completely like, I can't speak English at all. Um, but the funny thing is that like when I flew back into the United States, the first thing that happened is I said to somebody at like a cashier, I said hello in Slovak,
Yeah.
and she was just like, I don't know what you're saying. I was like, oh crap, I'm back in the United States.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Would you do it again? Would you travel abroad or work overseas again if
Oh
you had the
yeah.
chance?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
All right, that's awesome, man. Well, like, what got you into game art in the first place? Like, why did you get into games industry?
I've liked video games since I was a child. I think that's like a big thing for everybody.
Yeah.
Um, but there were a couple of games that I was like, whoa, these are really interesting experiences. These are things that are more than just video games. And I actually originally wanted to be like a game designer.
Yeah.
I wanted to be the guy who came up with the ideas and everything. And then I very quickly realized that that does not exist.
Yeah, for sure. No, totally.
And and so I just got into the art stuff, and I found that environments were really cool, and they a lot of people want to be character artists, and
Yeah,
I
for
think that
sure.
environment art is a different type of character.
Oh yeah, no, no. Yeah. Like, what would you say? If you were to think back on your career when you were just starting, what advice might you give to somebody that was kind of just getting started, or what would you want to know or think about?
um, I think that the school that I went to, and the school that you went to as well,
Yeah,
they had the teachers there are very blunt about the fact that this is like super super difficult,
yeah,
and that you gotta be serious about it. And I think that I was pretty serious about it from the get go. But I wish that I was able to like feel the weight of pressure that
yeah,
that that sometimes you can feel in the games industry, like before I got into it.
yeah,
Um, so I think it's really just kind of about expectations, or expectations of what you should know, or what you shouldn't know, or what you can expect to have to do day to day.
yeah. No, I totally get behind that. Like,
Mhm.
and like, kind of like rolling off that, like, what do you think are like the worst aspects of working in the games industry? Like, for you
Um,
personally, or things you've experienced.
I think the worst thing is how games can kind of be derailed based on like publisher feedback,
Sure.
um, or that like it's a real unfortunate wake up call the day that you realize the games industry is a business and it's not like a big party.
Yeah.
Um, so the days when you have to when somebody makes a business call over like an art call
Yeah.
are days that are really unfortunate, because you put a lot of work and effort into these things, and when it doesn't pan out, or somebody just says no because money, that sucks.
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people can learn from is that like you might have like the best idea ever and like you're like, well, how long is it going to take to make? And you're like, well, 6 months. And then they're like, you have 3 days. And you're like, well, I guess we're not doing any of this cool stuff. And then you get the feedback from fans who are like, you guys should have made that feature that would have took you 6 months to make. And you're like, well, we didn't have time to do it. I definitely thought about it, but
Yeah, exactly.
rolling into it, like, what do you think are like the best aspects of working in the games industry? Like, what do you like about it?
I like the people.
Yeah,
I've met so many awesome people who get crazy obsessed about little things like I love horror movies, and I can find all sorts of people who are really into like weird niche stuff like that.
yeah,
And nobody judges you for for what you're into um, or anything. So it winds up being really it's really open.
yeah.
It's definitely the people.
Yeah, I definitely think I've experienced the same thing where, like, you can kind of be whoever you want to be, right?
Yeah,
Just as long as
exactly.
you're respectful to others, like, that's usually the only key. But if you're into whatever you're into, like, people are pretty accepting in the industry of just like, yeah, just be creative and be yourself.
Hmm.
What resources or things do you think would be useful to have someone that's maybe getting started or just kind of earlier in their career learn or look into a little bit? Like, what kind of resources do you find useful kind of early on?
I find things like so like websites like Polycount
Yeah.
are super super important.
Big shout out to
Um,
Polycount.
yeah, shout out to the Green Teeth. I also think like things like 10,000 Hours, which is a Facebook group that has a lot of people on it who post their artwork. I think any resource that allows you to get your artwork in front of other people that can kind of like give you feedback. So websites like DeviantArt like aren't really the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Things that get you like serious feedback.
Yeah.
Um, I was really lucky that our major at the Art Institute has a Facebook group specifically devoted to like our section, and it's all people there. So it's like it's a nice sort of jumping off point. Have a little pool to test the waters, and then you can kind of jump to the bigger pool and everything like that.
Yeah. No, I really like that point too. It's like a lot of times we get so caught up as artists just like making art that you forget that you have to make product and then market yourself. It's
Right.
like, and then there is like you're like kind of like what you just said about having that smaller pool where you can kind of test some ideas that might be not quite done or a little more whip than you might want people to see, like work in progress.
Hmm.
And like, yeah, I can totally get behind that. But the key really is like get your stuff out there, like let people see
Yeah.
it, because no one will know you exist.
Yeah. Exactly.
So where do you think the industry is going? Like the games industry in like 5 years? Like what do you think is going to be big and hot, or where do you think what do you think that's trending now will kind of shrink down, and what will come up? Like just from your own opinion, what do you think?
I don't know. I think it's so random. It's like it's so unpredictable. If you had asked me 5 years ago if I thought that Overwatch and League were going to be the biggest games, on the market, that I would have said, no way, man, it's going to be the next Call of Duty game. Or you're going to tell me that World of Warcraft was starting to lose out to Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
I think you were crazy. But I think we're going to start seeing a lot more interesting technology be integrated into video games. I think that VR is great. Like I really, really, really like VR, but I'm interested in seeing how other sort of like how we're able to augment other technologies into virtual reality
Yeah.
or
No.
augmented reality with what like Nintendo is doing with the Switch and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I really can dig that. I can get behind that. Like, I think there's going to be more weird hardware experiments that'll always happen. I'd be curious just to see how much casual just will keep growing.
Hmm.
Like mobile devices and stuff, they're only going to get faster, and then you're going to start losing that barrier. I don't know if I'll necessarily ever believe that someone will carry around like a controller. Now, we do have the Switch, right? Like, that's a perfect example, or like the DS.
Hmm.
But I don't know if you ever get a consumer to really like, oh, I'm going to throw a controller in my bag with my smartphone or like my
Yeah.
weird headset. Like, I'm not even sure if that will really click in a big way.
Hmm.
But it's still interesting to start thinking about like the experiences that people that might be starting to like get into this, like what they should start kind of like maybe leaning towards or looking at. And I
Yeah.
really don't think anyone ever knows, but it's just kind of fun to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I also think that with as machine processing gets more powerful and faster, seeing like things with machine learning in conjunction with video games, and see like what sort of experiences can be crafted through that with with quote unquote artificial intelligence, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
I got a question for you. So imagine you had a time machine and you could go back and give yourself some advice when you were just starting out. What do you think you would tell yourself? So early Greg just getting started, what would you try to say?
Man, I would absolutely push the style that I currently am interested in exploring with my art earlier. So like I really like sci-fi and hard surface, like mechanical details and everything.
Yeah.
And that's what I did for a really long time. But I've gotten more and more into hand painting and stylized stuff recently. And I think that there's a lot more fun, and I feel more engaged with that kind of thing. I would go back in time and probably tell myself to start working on my painting skills earlier.
Yeah, no. So where can people find you online? Where are you at?
Well, I'm on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Greg Gunslinger. I'm also on ArtStation, and I have my own personal website. But I'm also like I don't have like a Facebook page for my art, but I post a lot of art stuff on my Facebook, and I try to keep that all public if people want to hit me up or ask me questions or anything. I have a couple of tutorials on YouTube and 3D Motive. So I try to be in as many places as I can.
Yeah, no, totally, man. That's super great. Is there anything else you want to plug or kind of talk about?
Um, no, not right now. Right now I just think the thing that I'd like to keep working on is trying to build a bigger community for artists that are kind of starting to come out. And I think that the whole AIP Game Art Facebook group is the start of that. I want to try and make that bigger and push that further to get more Art Institute schools to join it or something. So keep
Yeah, can you
posted.
talk about that a little bit more, like what that is, and just for people that might not know what it is?
Sure. So AIP Game Art is the Art Institute's Facebook group for game art and design, and we also like if you're in graphic design or whatever program, you're allowed to join it. Right now, it's only for Art Institute students, but I think that what I'd like to try and do in the future is try and get more people from that are students posting in it, and kind of have this is like a pipe dream, but also have people who are in the industry be able to sort of offer. Like advice and feedback, and that's kind of what we do now. We have a good group of people in there to try and offer feedback, but there's only so many students.
Yeah.
But you can find it on Facebook if you just search AIP Game Art.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's a super great idea. Even if you're in a school or not, would people that aren't in school be able to join the group, or is it pretty much closed?
I'm not 100% sure yet. I don't think so. I don't like if you're not in school and you just want to join. I just think that if you're going to be active and cool, then I think that would be fine for people to join the group.
Yeah, I would always suggest people to seek out Polycount first and foremost.
Yeah.
Because there's tons of industry guys there with tons of experience. So even if you're just new, the community there is pretty well respected, and you're not really going to end up in a situation where if you post up and you're embarrassed, you're gonna get feedback. Some people get a little overwhelmed because you do get a professional level of critique where sometimes no, this is just bad. Here's where you can improve. So you have to gut check yourself a little bit. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that Polycount is super important for anyone who wants to be in the industry in any capacity.
No, I totally agree with that. All right, Greg. Anything else in closing?
Just keep on making art. That's the best thing. Just make art, show people your art, and when people tell you how to make your art better, just always be super thankful that people want to help you, and remember that you are the artist that you're making. So just be the best you can be, I guess.
No, I can get behind that. All right, Greg. Well, I think we're gonna get out of here and let people kind of move on with their day. But thank you again for coming on. It was a pleasure. And
yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, for sure, man. Hopefully we'll have you on again in the future or something like that and get some more insights. So
absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
You're welcome.